Also, can you imagine you just finished a battle and your queens are almost making out over dead bodies? Huh? Hello, welcome to a fairly new booktube channel. My name is Shelby. Welcome to Shelby Reads. I am a femme for butch lesbian. I've been with my wonderful butch wife for 13 years almost, but we've been married for almost 6. Yay, us. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to hear more about sapphic books. Today I'm going to be ranting about a dark fantasy romance called Off With Her Head by Dana LeeAnn. This is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. I know that we're on a retelling kick right now, but I really didn't do it on purpose. So when I wrote this script, the only synopsis was like, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most ruthless of them all, which like confused me because this is Alice in Wonderland and we're talking about Snow White for some reason. But they updated the Goodreads and the story graph, so now there's an actual description. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most ruthless of them all? Queen rules Underland through fear and deadly proclamations. Her infamous Off With Their Heads maintains an iron grip on her magical kingdom. Across the border in Darkmoor, Queen Rowena wields blood magic in solitude, trusting only her prophetic mirror after her sister's betrayal nearly cost her life. When rumors of war threaten both kingdoms, these rival queens are forced into an uneasy alliance. But as they work together to counter the mounting danger, their mutual distrust begins to dissolve into something far more dangerous: attraction. Now Rowena's sister Mara has emerged from the shadows with an army at her back and vengeance in her heart. As magical creatures choose sides and kingdoms hang in the balance, Scarlet and Rowena must decide if they can trust each other with not only their crowns, but their hearts. The mirror's prophecy is clear. In the coming battle, one queen must fall. Yeah. Also, a lot of that description is kind of moot. Nobody was choosing sides, but we'll get there, I guess. I'm going to read you the author trigger warnings quick, and then I'm going to give you some, you know how we roll here. Content warning list: your mental health matters. Read this page in its entirety. Explicit language, explicit sexual content, gore, blood, knives, stabbing, home invasion, parental death, extreme family drama, backstabbing sister, government corruption, murder, execution, beheading, battle/war, graphic wounds, unhygienic scenes involving blood, mind control. The sister one just makes me giggle. Backstabbing sister as a trigger warning, okay. Here are the additional ones I would like to give to you. Confinement, cursing, death, gore, sexual content, blood, murder, war, injury/injury detail, death of a parent. Before we begin, I just have my usual disclaimers, so let's run through them really quick. Number 1, this review is not for the author or stands of this author's work. You won't like what I have to say. Reviews are for readers. Number 2, this review will contain all of the spoilers. I go chapter by chapter through the reviews. Don't want spoilers, get out of here. Number 3, I'm not bashing sapphic books. We deserve to have amazing sapphic books and mediocre sapphic books, but I'm allowed to say whatever I want about them on my channel. No creative work is above critique and review, particularly when people are making money off of it. Number 4, this book makes me angry. If you don't want to see that, skedaddle. Skedaddle. Number 5, I understand that dark romance is cathartic for some people. I understand that just because you enjoy reading extreme media does not mean you want those things to happen in real life. I do think that there is plenty of room for criticism of the dark romance genre, however, because I think some of the books are just bad and then other ones are bad and they don't properly warn their readers. Number 6, this is a new special one. If you say anything about my accent because of one of the characters' names, I'm gonna lose it. I've tried to fix my accent, it doesn't work. Number 7, this book was created by an indie author. We should still support indie authors, and just because I didn't like this book doesn't mean that you won't. But whenever I don't like a book that's done by an indie author, I like to give a recommendation to try and support other indie authors. Today's recommendation is A Ballad for Slayers and Monsters by Rita A. Rubin. This is an adult fantasy book. This was self-published and now has this beautiful hardcover. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And it is a fantasy book with a butch main character. Yay! I had a really good time reading it. I give it 4 out of 5 stars on Storygraph. If you want to hear more about my opinions, go and check my September reading wrap up. I talked about it in there. With that being said, let's hop to it. Prologue, Scarlet. Remember what I said about my accent, I swear to God. This book starts off with one of our main characters, Scarlet, who is 10 at a royal ball. Her parents are the king and queen of Underland, making her the princess of Underland. She is a bit shy and doesn't like people staring at her. Understandable, that's how I feel when people demand I make eye contact with them. It just feels creepy and wrong. Her parents watch her affectionately as she does a traditional royal waltz, and we've hit our first anachronism. The waltz doesn't belong in Alice in Wonderland because it was invented by the Germans in the 1800s. I know for a fact that there is not a single German in this book, and also before you say, well, Alice comes from Earth, Alice isn't in this book. Alice never makes an appearance. It is never even thought about that our world exists in this entire book, so you can't even use that as an excuse. You see, Father whispered as we turned, they adore you, little heart. A good ruler is loved, not feared. 7 years later, I understood how wrong he was. Of course, we have to get super edgy immediately. This is a dark romance. There is a page break and we flash forward to Scarlet being 17 and a rebel group has breached the eastern gates of the palace. Her mother tells her to go with the mock turtle, who horrifyingly looks like this. Scarlet tries to argue, but her mother orders her to. The mock turtle is already sobbing as he pulls her to hide in a secret passage. I looked back at my parents one last time. They stood tall and proud, my father with his sword drawn, my mother with heart magic swirling around her hands. They believed even then that their kindness would protect them, that their subjects loved them too much to harm them. They were wrong. I heard it all within the mock turtle's shell, where he had hidden me beneath layers of magical tears that masked my own sobbing. The screams, the fighting, the rebel leader's voice crying out, the rulers of Wonderland have made us soft. Magic requires order, control. We will no longer be the laughingstock of the three kingdoms. The rebel group becomes kind of nonsensical when you realize like how kind her parents were. And what the rebel group wants makes even less sense. Rebel groups usually have some real reason for wanting their monarchs dead, like exploiting them, doing something morally reprehensible, only supporting the rich. But these rebels want to overthrow their monarchs because they're too nice.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
But they don't matter much to this story, so we have to speed on right ahead. You would think this would be a big plot point, but it's not. Scarlet can hear her parents begging for mercy and for their lives before she hears a wet thud of blades meeting flesh. We get another page break and then we flash forward to 1 month later and Scarlet is being crowned Queen of Wonderland. She has a traitor kneeled before her, someone who aided the rebels because he thought that they would give him a nice position in their new government. We learn that the rebellion was crushed by loyal forces and that everyone who was in the rebellion has been brought to her for her judgment. Again, we kind of fly by this when I think this could have been much more important to the plot. Your Majesty, he pleaded, his voice trembling. I was misled, confused. Please show the same compassion your parents were known for. My parents are dead, I replied, my voice echoing across the suddenly silent hall. Their compassion died with them. I stood, feeling every eye upon me, not with affection as they had once looked at the little princess in pink, but with uncertainty, with nervousness. Good, let them be uncertain. In Wonderland, the roses are red, I said, descending the steps toward him. Not white, not pink, not any other color. Red, the exact shade of blood. Do you know why? Shook his head, confusion replacing his pleading expression. Because precision maintains control. Order maintains power. I circled him slowly, feeling something new and cold unfurling within me. My parents believed in kindness. I believe in fear. I returned to my throne, sitting tall despite the crown's weight. I needed to make an impression, needed every person in this room to understand exactly who I had become. The words came naturally, as if they had been waiting inside me all along. Off with his head. So number one, I don't understand what the color of the roses have to do with precision. What does that mean? Who knows? But it is unsurprising that in this horrible moment of grief after the brutal assassination of her parents, that she wouldn't follow her parents' example and would be cruel instead of kind. I actually didn't mind this and thought it was kind of a cool start to the book. Hold on to your butts though, it falls off a lot faster than you would think. I have very different critiques of this one compared to the last dark romances I've done though, so Chapter 1, Scarlet. We are back with adult Scarlet of an undetermined age, and she is thinking about how she wields power, commands fear, and maintains order. Ah yes, just my favorite problem with first-person POV, that it feels like the character is running around narrating their own life to themselves in their head, from beginning to end, every single day. And we just happen to catch them when we need it most. People do not sit around thinking about this stuff all day. It just always feels so lazy to me on the author's part. Everyone in the throne room is worried except for the red roses that she has the card soldiers paint every morning. Yeah, they're flowers, they can't feel anything. And before you say, Shelby, this is Wonderland, these flowers never talk to my knowledge. She is decked out in ridiculous and ostentatious attire to sentence a nobleman. The accused nobleman kneels before me, his fine silk jacket now wrinkled from the rough handling handling of my card soldiers. Lord Preston, once a trusted advisor, now a fucking traitor who thought he could slip away in the night with my kingdom's secrets. He was caught at the southern border with documents detailing Underland's magical defenses. The evidence against him is damning, really, and the punishment has been predetermined. Yet still we play this game of supplication and judgment. It's a necessary theater, one that enforces the natural order of my kingdom. I do love an evil queen who utilizes aggression onto others in order to make things seem like fair and above board. It's manipulative. I kind of like it. I am a lover of evil women, despite what some of my other videos might imply. It is a bit boring though, because since this is a retelling, I already kind of was assuming that she was beheading people left and right.
That is the reductionist stereotype that puts people like me in little boxes. You chose the right books though, I will admit.
I knew that we would see it. I just thought that it would be kind of different. I don't know. He begs for his life and she gets more angry because he is just lying to her face. She has spent years honing her execution voice and it makes grown warriors tremble. The whole court is nervous. The mock turtle has stopped his eternal weeping and the March hare's perpetual trembling has gone still. So bestie, eternal means lasting or existing forever. So that's not the right word. Perpetual we can excuse because the second definition of perpetual is that it seems to last forever, but eternal is not the right word. It wouldn't be my channel if I didn't nitpick. We learn that everything she does is deliberate. It will be repeated 1,000 times. It gets old really fast. Do you think I wouldn't notice? I circle him slowly, enjoying the way he holds his breath when I pass behind him. Did you think the Queen of Hearts wouldn't feel the betrayal of one of her own? Pause directly behind him, close enough that I know he can feel my breath against his neck. I lower my voice to a whisper meant only for him. Did you forget that I have eyes everywhere? That the very roses you passed in the garden will whisper your treachery to me? There are a couple good lines in this book. I did actually kind of like the line about the roses whispering to her. Because we know that this is a nonsensical world to a certain extent, we can believe that this is literal or metaphorical. But I would like to reiterate that I don't think the flowers ever talk. They like pass along messages, but they don't themselves talk, just so we're clear. He tries to beg again, and instead of listening to this for even a minute, it's open his head! Even though she gets a delightful tinkle from having him executed and making an example of him, she can't help but wonder if there's any other way. But she dismisses this before it has a chance to fester. You'll see that the characters being evil really doesn't last long, and I couldn't help but be disappointed by it. I was really excited to see some evil ladies who abuse their power, but it didn't last long at all. I'm getting ahead of myself, but we'll go over it as it comes. Her favorite flamingo, Gariel, comes up to her after this to tell her that there is movement by the eastern border. She asks what kind, and he tells her it's a dark mist, and that the mist is reinforcing the border between Underland and Darkmoor. She asks when this began, and he tells her right before dawn. Darkmoor, Queen Ravina's kingdom. The thought of her has my fingers tightening on the armrest of my throne. We've never met, but her reputation precedes her. A witch queen who rules through blood magic, consulting only with her prophetic mirror, managing to keep her kingdom shrouded in perpetual twilight. Some whisper that her isolation has driven her to madness. Somebody has a little crush. Ooh. She tells them to send for the griffin immediately. The griffin acts as her informer because he can soar undetected above the neighboring kingdoms. Gariel goes to get him. While she waits, Scarlet watches the card soldiers in the palace gardens. They move with military precision, painting the white roses red, a daily ritual that must be maintained for the kingdom's magic to flow properly. The roses are particular about their color. They must be the exact shade of fresh blood. Too bright and they become sickeningly cheerful. Too dark and they begin to wilt. The perfect crimson hue makes them vibrant, ensuring the kingdom's power is flowing and balanced, which keeps me in control. I did like that we learn where some of the magic comes from, although as we go through the book, the magic system gets more and more convoluted. The magic system is one of my main gripes about this book. The griffin arrives moments later. He tells her that Queen Ravina has increased the military training in her kingdom. He thinks that she's preparing for something significant. Scarlet is worried about the current peace between their kingdoms. She asks about a diplomatic summit that they are supposed to be having with Queen Ravina that evening. How convenient that it's for this evening. Wouldn't want to stretch this out a little bit. No siree. He tells her that Ravina has confirmed her attendance and that she will be traveling with a small retinue. Ravina, her name alone sends an unwelcome flutter through my chest. The infamous Queen of Darkmoor, tales of her beauty and ruthless power have passed my ears more often than I can count. They say she's the fairest in all the lands, that her magic runs as dark as her reputation. They say many things about Queen Ravina. Tonight I'll have a chance to discover which rumors might be true. Very well, I wave my hand in dismissal. It pains me to inform you that this is marketed as enemies to lovers, but it's insta-love. I really wanted enemies to lovers. Why are the only people committed to this me and Tamsin Muir? Tamsin, please save us. Scarlet says that she wants the guards doubled and she doesn't want Queen Ravina to breathe without supervision. The Griffin then leaves her with her thoughts. She goes back to watching the card soldiers painting one of the petals, but he's slipping up. She explodes him with the snap of her fingers. I would like to go back to the fact that there was a rebellion because her parents were too nice, but there's no rebellion for this. Really? Just killing people everywhere. The other soldiers work faster, their brushes moving desperately while they try to maintain precision. They know the price of imperfection in my kingdom. The slightest imbalance will siphon the kingdom's power faster than we can mend it, and it takes years to recover. I understand that you need this for the magic, but killing them is a bit extreme. You're telling me that no one is interested in rebelling? Nobody? She thinks about how she's finally going to meet Queen Ravina tonight. Tonight I will finally meet Queen Ravina face to face. The thought sends another vibration through my chest, this one accompanied by a spike of anticipation. She rules through prophetic magic and isolation. I rule through fear and spectacle. Two queens, two approaches to power, two women who have sacrificed normalcy for the burden of a crown. It's the thrill of finally being able to match the rumors to a face, nothing more. That's great and all, but I would like to point out that you were the only heir to the throne that we've known about, so you didn't sacrifice normalcy. You were a princess your entire life. You didn't sacrifice normalcy.
What the hell are you talking about?
Scarlet rises from her throne and tells her card soldiers to prepare her chambers because she has a queen to provoke. And yet, ... my heart beats a little faster at the thought of meeting her, of seeing if the rumors of her beauty are true, of matching wits with someone who might be my equal. Is it anxiety, anticipation, something else entirely? This is so predictable, it's so disappointing. I hate insta-love. Where are the enemies? I need them desperately. I need Catradora levels of enemies to lovers or nothing. She thinks about how fear is the greatest teacher she's ever known and it's kept her alive. She thinks about her parents being murdered again, and she thinks about how fear will become her shield, her weapon, her legacy. We get it, you make people fear you. Maybe instead of telling us, you could show us. I actually did prefer the execution to this. She thinks about how Ravina is different because she rules with power, not fear. She rules with blood magic. Yay, the not like other girls trope striking again. I am sick of this. I want out.
Please kill me. I'm serious. Please kill me. I'm not singing. I'm asking.
After thinking all of this, she chastises herself for being foolish because this is politics and nothing more. You say so. She gets decked out and she wonders if Ravina's eyes will linger on her cleavage.
Who are you talking to right now?
Her maids work tirelessly on her outfit right down to her makeup. She thinks when she looks in the mirror that she is undeniably beautiful, powerful, and dangerous. And tonight she will meet her match. Chapter 2, Ravina. We're with our love interest Ravina, who is at her magic mirror.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
I have to say I let out an audible gasp when I realized that Alice wasn't the love interest, and the gasp was of relief. You really never know with dark romance. You really never know. She has to give her mirror blood because her magic is fueled by blood, because this is dark romance. Are we edgy enough yet? She is seeing visions of troops from Ironwood, the third kingdom in this world. She sees her sister Mara, who serves as the antagonist for this book. It's been 5 years since I last saw her, yet Mara's face still causes my scar to throb in phantom pain. I unconsciously touch my throat where the thin white line remains, a reminder of my sister's treachery, how close she came to taking everything from me. The mirror shows her standing in what appears to be a war room, her finger tracing battle maps with the same elegant precision she once used to trace magical sigils. I still can't believe that backstabbing sister was in the trigger warnings. I'm starting to wonder if people know what trigger warnings are really for. As somebody who has CPTSD, I'm starting to think it's getting really watered down. Her sister looks different, meaner. She now has a white streak in her hair because she used dark magic to betray Ravina. The audacity! But also that just kind of reminds me of Claudia from The Dragon Prince. She gets a knock on the door and it's her Commander Lysander, coming to announce that her backstabbing sister married King Edmund of Ironwood. Things are not really looking too great for Ravina if her sister really does want to get rid of her. Ravina says the witch who tried to have me executed has found herself a king. How fitting. We then learn exactly how Mara betrayed her. Mara had led me to an ancient stone circle deep in the forest, claiming she'd discovered a ritual that would amplify my blood magic. Instead, she's bound me with rope and forced me to watch while she dug my grave. It was my blood magic that had saved me when she cut me with her blade, giving me the opportunity to use the dark magic against her. Mara escaped during the chaos that followed, disappearing into the wilderness beyond our borders. I'd spent the next year hunting her, only to eventually receive reports that she died during a winter storm. Clearly, those reports were greatly exaggerated. That should have been the main story. It's sad that something like so interesting is just a footnote. It also reminds me of the murder of Jennifer in Jennifer's body. Lysander tells her that there has been increased activity at all the borders and that Edmund's forces are preparing for war, or they at least look like they are. Ravina already knows because of the mirror's vision. She tells him to double the training hours for their forces because her sister is coming. He asks if they should cancel the diplomatic meeting with the Queen of Hearts, but Ravina says no because she has access to intelligence that they may need, and they might need allies. Lysander is surprised that she says they might need allies because their kingdom has maintained isolation for generations. She says it's necessary because her dead sister returned with an army, and then Lysander leaves. There's a lot of expositing about how Darkmoor is different from the other kingdoms. I wish they had just showed us instead of telling us. It makes a very boring read. Ravina's thoughts drift to the Queen of Hearts. I've watched her through my mirror occasionally, a guilty fascination I indulge in when the loneliness of ruling becomes too heavy. She's fascinating in her calculated cruelty, her flamboyant displays of power so different from my own quiet authority. A smile tugs at my lips despite my dark mood. What would the great Queen of Hearts think if she knew her reputation had reached even my shadowed realm? If she knew I'd watched her through my mirror, intrigued by the tiny woman with fire for hair who commands her kingdom with an arched eyebrow and a wicked smile. I push the thoughts away. I have to. One of the leads low-key stalking the other. Do we have bingo yet? Aren't these authors tired of writing the same things over and over? Gets old really fast. Also, why wouldn't she think that you had heard of her reputation? There are only 3 kingdoms. What? Ravina has her maid get things ready for the meeting. She has the mirror give her another vision while she waits. And this time there is a flash of red hair. What if this whole thing is the mirror's sorry attempts to get its queen to date? That would be way funnier. Her maid comes in and gets her ready. She doesn't take as long as Scarlet because she prefers simplicity. Preferring simplicity doesn't make you interesting, just so you know. She gets in the carriage where Commander Lysander and Lord Corvus, yes, Corvus, are waiting for her. The border patrols have been doubled, they tell her, and he put the best scryers on duty to monitor for unusual activity in Ironwood. Yay! It takes a little time to get to the castle, but it takes less than a page. In awe of the ridiculous nature of Wonderland, Ravina is ready for all of Scarlet's controlling tricks. She reminds them as they step down from the carriage after they arrive that they are here for information as much as diplomacy. Observe everything, reveal nothing. Why this needs to be told of officials of her own kingdom is beyond me. They must not be very good at their jobs. They're led to a long table inside made of marble. She thinks that Scarlet will make a grand entrance to assert dominance, but she is secure enough in her position to allow it. Well, I would hope so, since this queen doesn't have anything to do with whether you're the Queen of Darkmoor or not. I sense her before I see her, a wave of controlled magic preceding her entrance like a rose-scented perfume. The doors swing wide and there stands the Queen of Hearts in all her theatrical glory. And despite myself, despite my preparation, I feel my breath catch. The rumors, I realized, didn't do her justice. She's tiny, barely reaching my shoulder even in her towering heels, but she occupies space as if she were a giantess. Her red gown is a marvel of design, cinching her waist to impossible proportions while showcasing a décolletage that would be scandalous in Darkmoor. Her hair falls in perfect waves of deepest auburn, like blood cooling into copper. But it's her eyes that draw me in, green as poisoned apples. Oh look, the tiniest tiny woman trope is back with a vengeance. Why is no one in dark romance of a regular height? Chapter 3, Scarlet. We're sent back to when Scarlet was about to make her entrance. She asks Gariel how Ravina looks, and he says, like the most magnificent magnificent night given form. She rolls her eyes at this, and so do I. Ebony, darkness, dementia, raven way, is that you? She makes her entrance and is immediately breathless at seeing Ravina. The rumors, I realize, don't do her justice. Ravina rises from her seat with fluid grace, and for a moment I forget how to breathe. She's tall, agile, but slim, wrapped in a black gown that fits like a second skin. Her face is perfectly symmetrical. High cheekbones, full red lips, piercing blue eyes that seem to see right through my carefully constructed facade. Her black hair falls like silk around her shoulders, and her pale skin seems to glow in the candlelight. Fairest in all the lands, indeed. Remember when we were in the last chapter and Ravina says the rumors don't do her justice, and now Scarlet is repeating the same thing? Was the editor asleep? Because it's only 2 pages apart. Can we have a smidge of originality? Scarlet welcomes the hottie into Underland. Ravina says her castle is ... fascinating. Scarlet says that she's heard her castle is ... distinctive. Insert some awkward banter. You mean dark and forbidding? Her lips curve into something that's not quite a smile as her eyes rise to meet mine. We can't all rule through theatrical displays of power. The 2 men beside her tense, but I find myself fighting back a genuine smile, someone who isn't afraid to challenge me. No, I agree, letting my gaze drag obviously down her body before meeting her eyes again. Some of us prefer to isolate our power in the shadows. Is this flirting? Have I become so confused by these books that I no longer know what flirting even is? It doesn't matter what I think though, because Scarlet sees something, maybe interest, crossing Ravina's face. They apparently spend the next hour discussing political things, but do we get to see that? No, we get 1 paragraph just telling us that it happened. It also says that Commander Lysander gives input about military concerns. Please keep this in your noggins for later. We're gonna bring it up later. While they're talking, the Cheshire Cat appears to give them a riddle. He says that Queen Mara's marriage is not as it appears, that she's playing a deeper game, and the king is not the power he appears to be. Ravina tells her men to get out, and Scarlet gets rid of her attendants as well, leaving them with the Cheshire Cat alone. They ask him to tell them everything. He says, where would the fun be in that? He tells them to watch the shadows. Not all of them belong to you, before disappearing. After he's gone, Scarlet brings up the whole backstabbing sister thing. Ravina says, yeah, that's her. She thinks it's interesting that the cat warned both of them. Is it? Scarlet silently agrees because he rarely involves himself in politics. Scarlet asks Ravina to walk with her. She takes Ravina to the garden, which Ravina comments on being more controlled than the rest of her kingdom. Scarlet admits that it follows different rules and tells Ravina that the chaos can be exhausting, even for Underland's queen. She glances at me, and I see a flicker of surprise in her blue eyes. You would admit to such weakness. Is it weakness to acknowledge the cost of power? I counter, leading her deeper into the maze. The hedges shift subtly as we pass, opening a path for us. Or is it weakness to pretend no cost exists? Ravina is silent for a moment, considering my words. In Darkmoor, we believe that acknowledging the price of power is a step toward true strength. Blood magic requires sacrifice. To pretend otherwise would be folly. And what do you sacrifice, Queen of Darkmoor? Question slips out before I can stop it, more personal than I intended. She lifts her hand, and I see faint scars crisscrossing her palms. Dozens of them, some old and white, some newer and still pink. Blood. Pain, normalcy. Her voice is soft, almost contemplative. The ability to trust, the luxury of vulnerability. I don't get why Scarlet, who has not trusted anyone since her parents were murdered, would admit things to such a big political player. And I also think the opposite of Ravina, who had her sister betray her in such a terrible way. I think this book could have been really interesting if the author hadn't gone straight to insta-love. There were some interesting elements here, but they were wasted. Even Scarlet is surprised that Ravina didn't deflect or mock her.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
They continue their heart-to-heart near the fountain, and Ravina asks what price she pays for her theatrical displays of power. Scarlet thinks that she should be offended, but there's no judgment in her tone, only curiosity. She says connection, authenticity, the ability to be seen as anything other than an object of fear. Ravina asks why she continues to do it, and Scarlet says because it works. She says that fear is reliable and that her parents' kindness did not save them. Ravina didn't know that Scarlet lost her parents to rebellion, and I can't see how she wouldn't know that. She is the queen of one of 3 kingdoms. She doesn't know that the previous rulers of Underland were murdered, politically assassinated by rebels. I call BS. Ravina tells her that she learned from her sister's betrayal that trust is a luxury that a queen cannot afford, and then says perhaps we're not so different. If trust is a luxury that you cannot afford, why are you trusting someone you just met? It could have been written so well, but instead we have to get to the nonsense plot as quickly as possible. Scarlet tells her to call her by her name when they're alone, and Ravina says that she can do the same. She then offers her hand to Scarlet, who takes it. Magic surges between us at the contact, wild and unexpected. I gasp, letting my jaw drop slightly as I feel power flow from her to me and back again, a circuit of energy that makes my skin tingle and my heart race. It's intoxicating, more intimate than any touch I've experienced before. What is that? I whisper, unable to pull away despite the intensity of the sensation, despite how out of control I'm feeling. I don't know. Her voice is equally soft, equally odd. Of course they have a super special magical bond. Why can't anything be about choice instead of destiny? I fear that fated mates has ruined fiction and it is now impossible to repair. Ravina says that this is impossible because blood magic doesn't share, it takes. Well, there's a first time for everything. After entirely too long, Scarlet lets go of her hand. Scarlet realizes that the Cheshire Cat knew. They repeat again that the cat rarely gets involved in politics. Yes, we were there when you said it not that long ago. Scarlet asks what Ravina's sister wants. Ravina says power, her power specifically. Mara's magic has always been weaker than hers, and she never forgave her for it. She points to the scar at her neck, and Ravina says, your own sister? Who else would it be? What is the context of the conversation we're having right now? Ravina says that her sister had reportedly died, but clearly that was wishful thinking.
Yeah, no shit, honey!
Scarlet and Ravina talk about how the marriage is an unlikely alliance because Ironwood has had an anti-magic stance and iron weapons that dampen magical ability. They think that perhaps she found a way to use the iron to her advantage, or that she can now suppress certain kinds of magic, and that perhaps she also found a way around blood magic's limitations. They both come to the conclusion that the kingdoms are no longer safe before lapsing into silence. Ravina says that they need more information, so she's going to go consult with her mirror. Scarlet says she's going to increase border security. Ravina says that they need to coordinate their defenses because Mara might be doing something that threatens both kingdoms. An alliance, I say, testing the word, between the Queen of Hearts and the Queen of Darkmoor. Between Scarlet and Ravina, she corrects softly. Huh? You do not know each other. You are both people who allegedly don't trust others.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Why would you trust someone you just met? It doesn't make any sense for either of their characters. The only reason we're doing this is because of insta-love, and we need to speed up to the sexy parts. Just write erotica if that's what you want to write. A card soldier breaks this up by running in and telling her a messenger arrived from the eastern border. There are strange lights and movements in the forest of Darkmoor. Ravina asks when, and he says within the hour. He says that it appears to be heading between the border of both kingdoms. They have to split up, and there is a carriage prepared for Ravina. Ravina says thank you for your hospitality, and Scarlet wishes her a safe journey and says she's looking forward to future diplomacy. She turns and our eyes meet one last time. I see the same longing I'm feeling in my chest, and I feel my heartstrings pull harder when she breaks eye contact and disappears into the carriage. Why are you already having feelings? It is only chapter 3. I hate this shit. Chapter 4, Ravina. Ravina is leaving and she can't stop thinking about Scarlet. I sit up with a frustrated growl, throwing back the silk sheets. This is ridiculous. I'm acting like a love-struck fool instead of a queen. I need my mirror. So you agree? You're acting like a fool. Good. She goes to the magic mirror and asks it to show her what the magic connection between the two of them means. She sees them on the battlefield and Scarlet's hair spreading on her pillows on her bed. Then darkness. She then sees her sister corrupted looking and can't hear what she's saying. This whole thing makes Ravina feel alive. The Cheshire Cat comes and pays Ravina a visit. She asks what he wants. He says it's such a limiting concept. He's the only interesting character in this book. He says some more cryptic stuff and she tells him to speak plainly because she has more important matters to attend to. He says that what happened in the garden happened once before when Wonderland and Darkmoor were a single kingdom ruled by sisters. He says that before the Sundering, which is like a big event, and it happened before the magical system became separate powers. Ravina says again that blood magic is solitary, and he says that's what you were taught in your parents and your parents' parents. She asks why he's telling her this. He says perhaps he's tired of the same old story, or perhaps I remember what it was like when magic flowed freely between the kingdoms. Before he disappears again, he tells her to watch for roses blooming where they shouldn't be. They'll tell you more than I ever could. Chapter 5, Scarlet. Scarlet is still shook because they touched hands. Since I loved it in Pride and Prejudice, I must allow it in this. She feels like it was even deeper than magic. There was recognition under their personas. Strange black roses are now climbing her castle walls, but black roses only grow in Darkmoor. She thinks that this is evidence of Ravina's lingering influence on her kingdom.
Yeah, no shit, honey!
The match hare frantically comes towards Scarlet. He tells her that Edmund's forces are at the eastern border and killing people. She asks how many. He says that there are like a dozen, maybe more, and that they're slaughtering the magical creatures that guard the border. Scarlet is furious because they're under her protection and no one touches what belongs to her. She has the regiments assembled for battle. She also commands word be sent to Ravina. She goes to the eastern border with her card soldiers. The card soldiers don't need food, rest, or reassurance. Good for them. I wish I didn't need to eat or sleep either. When they get there, there are a lot of magical creatures dead, but Ravina is already there fighting. Something unfurls inside her chest. Furl it right back up. She tells her soldiers to protect their kingdom. Ravina turns and they make eye contact. They start using their magic in tandem. It's as if we fought together for years, each anticipating the other's moves. Where my organized formations create structure, her wild blood magic brings chaos. Where her power focuses on individual threats, my soldiers control the overall flow of battle. Yay, insta-love! Nothing has to be worked for or cultivated. You can just say it was meant to be, and we're all supposed to accept it. If the next book I read is insta-love, I swear to God I'm gonna lose it. The sensation is euphoric, having someone at my back whom I can trust, whose power complements my own, whose very existence makes me stronger. Trust. The concept is almost foreign after years of ruling through fear, and yet in the midst of battle I find myself trusting Ravina implicitly, trusting her magic, her judgment, her commitment to our unexpected alliance. Why do you trust her? I don't understand. She has done little to prove herself trustworthy because you've known each other for less than 24 hours. Stop trying to tell me and instead just show me. Show me why either of these people would break down their walls. Ravina realizes that the crystals that the enemy soldiers have been draining the ambient magic. Scarlet thinks that this explains why her border's barrier is weaker. Scarlet has her card soldiers target the crystals. One of her soldiers breaks one and the magic explodes outward and it knocks everybody off their feet. Edmund's soldiers take this time to retreat. Scarlet thinks that this was a way to test their defenses and they failed because obviously they were winning until the explosion. Scarlet sees that some of her magical creatures were murdered and the loss hits her harder than expected, probably because she normally doesn't care about her subjects. In the past, I viewed my subjects as resources, particularly the magical creatures whose abilities made them useful tools in maintaining control over Wonderland. Their deaths would have been inconvenient, perhaps, but nothing more. When did that change? When did I start seeing them as being deserving of protection, of grief when they fall? Perhaps around the same time I began to see another queen as someone to fight alongside rather than against. You are telling me that you're telling me that Ravina met her once and she's already deciding that she has empathy now. If it was that easy, why didn't anyone else meeting you awaken such empathy? It feels so fake. And honestly, I wish she had been evil longer. This is supposed to be dark romance. Where is the evil? She goes over to the dead unicorn and Ravina comes over and kneels beside her, telling her that she's sorry. Scarlet asks why she fought and Ravina says, well, they were being slaughtered and she saw it in the mirror. Scarlet turns to her and sees that Ravina is hurt. She touches the cut on her cheek and the magic surges again and the wound closes. Ravina says her magic feels different and wilder. Scarlet says everything is wilder here, including you. How would you know? You haven't even known her for 24 hours. Has the world gone crazy? Her eyes darken and she catches my wrist. She pulls me closer, her other hand coming up to cup my face. We're both breathing harder. The whether from the battle or the intensity of what we're feeling, I can't be sure. Scarlet, My name on her lips sounds perfect. I lean in, drawn by more than magic. Her lips part and I can feel her breath against mine. Are you serious? Are you serious? We are only 22% through this book, and this book is marketed as enemies to lovers. Were the enemies ever in the room with us? Also, can you imagine you just finished a battle and your queens are almost making out over dead bodies? Huh? A card soldier interrupts before they can kiss and says they've captured one of the enemy soldiers alive. She tells him to bring that soldier to the throne room. Ravina says that Edmund's forces will be back and in greater numbers. Scarlet thinks that she's right, but all she can think about is how close they came to kissing and how much she wants to try again. I'm so sick of that insta love. That shit, it tears me up. Sick of this. Page break. The prisoner is in the throne room. Scarlet demands he tell her his name. He doesn't answer. Ravina notices that there's something wrong with him. She says he's been ensorcelled. I learned a new word reading this, but this word is so stupid that I understand why we don't use it anymore. Ensorcelled. Scarlet asks if Ravina can break his mind control. Ravina says that she can try, but it might damage him permanently. Scarlet says, do it. There goes that newfound empathy, I guess. Ravina tries to do it, but it's not mind control, it's corruption. Scarlet tells Ravina to stop, but she can't. The prisoner begins to seize and foam at the mouth. Black veins are spreading across his skin. Scarlet grabs Ravina's shoulder and the connection disrupts her flow of magic, causing Ravina to fall on the marble floor. Scarlet asks her what happened and what she saw. Ravina says she saw darkness, that his very essence was twisted into something it was never meant to be. She also says that her sister is performing some kind of ritual with the crystals. The crystals are converting magic into something else. Scarlet asks how. Ravina doesn't know, but she knows that it's a violation of the laws of magic. Scarlet tells Ravina that she needs to rest. Ravina says there's no time. Scarlet says you can't collapse from magical exhaustion. Since when does the Queen of Hearts concern herself with another's well-being? Since the other became an ally worth preserving. The admission comes more easily than I expected. You fought for my subjects today. You risked your mind trying to extract information from our prisoner. These are not the actions of someone I can afford to lose to overexertion. A smile tugs at the corner of her mouth. How pragmatic. I am a sensible queen, but even as I say it, I know it's not the whole truth. My concern for her goes beyond strategic calculation. I care in a way I haven't allowed myself to care for anyone in years. The realization is terrifying. Great, we only care about people when they have value to us. This feels more in line with her character though than insta-love. Ravina says that her mirror might show them more. Scarlet says that they should go to Darkmoor after she's recovered enough to travel. Ravina is surprised at her. Scarlet says, perhaps I'm learning to rule more gently, or perhaps I simply recognize an extraordinary opportunity when I see one. I bet it's the second one. Ravina says, what opportunity? Scarlet says, the chance to understand you more. Vomit. Scarlet says they'll go to Darkmoor at dawn. Chapter 6, Ravina. Scarlet put Ravina in a peaceful guest room. She has a mirror delivered, but based on things that happen later, I don't think it's her most important mirror. I don't know, there are a bunch of contradicting things in this book. The mirror is an heirloom that reveals possibilities, kind of like Sapphire from Steven Universe. She has now damaged it by trying to see more visions, and it has never been damaged before. She tries again and she sees disjointed images until she sees someone in Scarlet's bedroom trying to assassinate her. She runs into Scarlet's room to save her, hearing muffled crash sounds from her room. She bursts on in there and Scarlet is backing away from two men. She uses her magic to make shadows wrap around the first guy's throat. Yay, shadow magic! I'm so glad that this has moved from romantasy to infiltrate dark romance. Has no one ever heard of necromancy? Actually, never mind. I don't want you guys ruining necromancy for me. It's my favorite form of magic. Dark romance, hands off, alright? Ravina jumps between Scarlet and the second guy and she gets struck by the steel of his weapon.
Oh! No!
While this is happening, she snaps the neck of the first guy with her shadows. Scarlet hits the second guy with a candlestick, which knocks him out or kills him? Do we mean candlestick holder? Because a candlestick is not gonna cut it. Scarlet immediately starts freaking out because Ravina is bleeding and she's like, how did you know I was in trouble? The mirror, you dumb idiot. Ravina says as much, but she is feeling very faint now. Scarlet calls for her guard and tells them to get the royal physician. Ravina Ravina says no like an idiot, saying that she just needs to rest and recover. Scarlet says she's being ridiculous and at least wants her to tend to it, but what does she know about tending to wounds? Why do these books make queens know even basic things, like people aren't waiting on them hand and foot since their infancy? Ravina wants to argue, but she's getting worse. Scarlet cuts away the fabric from the wound and magic starts to flow between them as they touch, causing the poison to slow and recede. Why did you do it? Put yourself between me and that blade. I close my eyes, unable to look at her. Why would I let you die? Why not? Wouldn't it be easier, one less rival queen to worry about? You know why. Words slip out before I can stop them, heavy with meaning neither of us are ready to face.
Why did you do it? You're so stupid. Why did you do it?
I had two very good reasons.
See, I love scenes like this in the young Victoria, but only when it's earned. These characters have barely been around each other. They don't even know each other's favorite food. How am I supposed to root for this? I also think we need to take away the term enemies to lovers until people relearn what it means. Scarlet notices that the crystals on the blade are interfering with Ravina's magical healing, like her natural magic healing. Why would shadow/blood magic heal? Again, what are the rules of the magic in this world? Because to me it seems like it can just do whatever is convenient. Ravina tells her that she's sorry she lost so many today. Scarlet again asks why she came to help her when they aren't hers to protect. Ravina says they were innocent and they were yours. Again, I don't understand why that matters to you, because you haven't spent enough time together to make this understandable. They're looking at each other and Ravina feels Scarlet looking at her with desire. Scarlet cups her face and brushes her thumb over her bottom lip. Why? I understand being attracted to someone immediately, but you two do not know anything about each other. There's no reason to be trusting each other and be vulnerable like this. Ravina says they need to interrogate the assassin, and Scarlet says later. She then says, you saved me. Ravina says she had to because she couldn't bear to watch her die. Scarlet asks why, and I'm also asking why. But before Ravina can answer, they are interrupted by a knock at the door. It is a card soldier telling Scarlet that the prisoner is in the dungeon, but there's something she needs to see. Ravina tells her to go and that she'll rest. You better be here when I return. She stands, straightening her nightgown. That's an order from your Queen of Hearts. I can't help but smile. I thought I didn't take orders from you. You do when you're bleeding in my bed. Is this banter? Can you feel the alleged love in the air? Scarlet thanks Ravina before leaving. Ravina thinks to herself that the poison was worth it because Scarlet is worth it. How do you know that? Ravina studies Scarlet's room. I cannot express to you how useless these background descriptions are in this book. They don't make the book any better. They don't give you a better understanding of anything. They're not necessary. They're just superfluous. They don't contribute anything at all, and they just fill up the page count. I wish more time had been spent on the relationship, but honestly, I do think we could have done both. She thinks that these are glimpses of the woman behind the crown, and they're more fascinating than any theatrical power display that Scarlet does. Okay, if you say so. I miss when she was executing people. Remember when this book was supposed to be dark romance? What the hell happened to all of the dark elements? Scarlet is back and she tells Ravina that the assassin is dead. There was some kind of like suicide mechanism activated when they tried to question him. There was some kind of crystal embedded at the base of his skull that consumed him from within. See, that is interesting, but I do feel that all of the magical elements in this book are severely undercooked. Scarlet asks how much pain she's in. Ravina lies and says, I've had worse. Scarlet calls her out for lying and says that the poison is unlike anything her physicians have ever seen. Ravina says her sister was always creative with her cruelty. Scarlet says she'll make her pay for this. Ravina says they need to understand Mara better and wants to try the mirror again, but Scarlet says that she can't in her condition. Ravina says that they're at an impasse then because the mirror needs her blood. Scarlet asks what if they use her blood? What if they combine their magic again and use her blood instead? Ravina goes back into the thought spiral of blood magic doesn't share, and we keep going over and over that the rules don't matter though. She says it's never been done before. Scarlet says things are changing, so why not this too? Ravina says it could be dangerous, but Scarlet says they won't know until they try, and then she pulls out a knife. If I had a nickel for every time a lead in a dark romance pulled out a knife, I would have too many nickels. Ravina thinks to herself that she shouldn't agree, but she relents. They cut the inside of Scarlet's palm, and I don't know why they always do this. You only need a drop of blood as far as I know. Why are we we making it all dramatic? She has Scarlet touch the mirror and they both say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, show us what Mara plans." I don't remember Ravina doing this when it was only her alone, but okay. Also, shouldn't Ravina theoretically be trying to kill a stepdaughter? Apparently not. This vision is more linear, which is very different to how the mirror usually works. They see that Mara is building an army and using the crystals to control them.
Yeah, no shit, honey!
They see that she's planning to attack both kingdoms at the same time. They also see Mara in an underground pool of water, dipping her hands into the surface. They don't know what it is, but Ravina thinks that it looks old. The mirror starts to crack because their combined magic is too strong. They see Mara transformed into something not entirely human, and then they see Scarlet lying motionless, lifeless on the battlefield. Ravina gasps no and breaks their connection. The mirror goes dark. They sit for a minute and process before Ravina says that she needs to go to Darkmoor and inform her commander of what's coming. Scarlet says that she's in no condition to travel and that she's used too much magic. Ravina argues that there's no time, and Scarlet says rushing into a journey that might kill you won't help the kingdoms either. I don't understand why she can't just send a letter with the griffin. That has not been explained to us. Also, it is like less than a day's carriage right away. You can't send someone, can't have someone at all. Scarlet says rest tonight and then our magic will help continue to heal you. And then they'll leave together for Darkmoor in the morning. This sounds like a solid plan, but again, I was kind of hoping that the Queen of Hearts would be more irrational and a little more like the character she's based off of. Ravina agrees, but says that they leave at dawn. Ravina stays in Scarlet's room and Ravina's like, you should rest too. Scarlet says she can have a cot brought in, but Ravina is like, don't be ridiculous. This bed is huge and I'm not going to make you sleep on a cot in your own room. Scarlet says, are you sure? Because you're injured. She says, yes, unless you're afraid of you. She slips under the covers beside me, careful to maintain a distance. I could have you executed, you know, but you won't. My voice is growing heavy with sleep, the events of the day finally taking their toll. You like me too much. I hear her shift slightly beside me. Perhaps I do. The confession, soft as it is, follows me into dreams of odd underland creatures. But as sleep claims me fully, my mind offers one last image. Scarlet and I in a garden where red and black roses grow together, our magics intertwined, our futures no longer separate but shared. It should be a nightmare, the loss of independence, the vulnerability to another. Instead, it feels like coming home. I hate this. I truly hate this. Why can no one ever build a natural relationship in these books? Why is that so impossible to achieve? Like, why am I constantly subjected to insta-love hell? I don't even know if I like reading anymore when I read books like this. Chapter 7, Scarlet. Scarlet can't sleep because Ravina is hot. Really, that's it. She can't sleep at all because Ravina is so hot. Dawn is now approaching. Scarlet isn't worried about the vision of her dying, which is weird. Is that my fate? To die in this coming conflict? The thought should terrify me, but strangely it doesn't. What terrifies me is the idea of Ravina facing Mara alone, without me at her side. The idea of what we've discovered together being lost before it can fully develop. The idea of never knowing what might have happened if I'd closed the distance between us, if I'd pressed my lips to hers during those charged moments we've shared. You're more afraid of not finding out how this relationship is going to go than death.
What the hell are you talking about?
Ravina starts having a nightmare and Scarlet puts her hand over hers. The magic swirling and the contact seems to soothe Ravina. Scarlet finally succumbs to exhaustion for the very limited time before dawn. Page break. The carriage waits in the courtyard and they both get in to go to Darkmoor. They talk about their kingdoms briefly. It's constant night in Darkmoor because this is so edgy. Ravina's wound is not healed, but it is contained for now. They get to Darkmoor pretty quickly, so again, why couldn't we have just sent a letter to the commander the night before? Does paper not exist in this universe? Scarlet is going outside the country for the first time, but she's going with Ravina, so everything is fine. Ravina asks if she's having second thoughts, and Scarlet says, no, you. Ravina says no, but FYI, Darkmoor is a little disconcerting at first. Dreams are more vivid and emotions become more intense. Are you sure you want to bring the lady who beheads people then? Ravina says that Darkmoor's influence over people is more subtle subtle, more insidious, if you say so. Scarlet says she'll keep it in mind. They don't speak for a while because what do you say to a literal stranger? Ravina asks Scarlet what she wants and it feels out of nowhere. She says she wants to protect her kingdom. She wants to understand this magic. And then she says this: I want to know if your lips taste as sweet as they look, I confess softly. I want to explore whether the connection between our magics extends to our bodies as well. I want to find out what happens when the Queen of Hearts allows herself to feel something besides fear and anger. This is so cringe. Get me out of here. Scarlet worries she's pushed too far and revealed too much, but Ravina says she wants the same thing. And then they kiss. Their lips crash together, energy surging between them. It's the same old stuff that's in all of these books. I wish someone would write something different just one time. I know that Tamsin Muir won't do this to me when my girls get their final kiss. I know she won't. They finally pull apart and their eyes changed color to reflect each other's a little bit, which is weird. Ravina says it was everything she dreamt it would be and more. Scarlet can only nod, still processing the magnitude of what just passed between them. It was just a kiss. You're the leader of an entire kingdom, get it together. They're crossing into Darkmoor and the air feels thicker. Why do all these authors keep writing about the air like this? If I had a nickel, you should watch my Cursed Slumber review. It has an insane number of mentions about the air. Scarlet thinks the kingdom is beautiful and Ravina welcomes her to Darkmoor. Scarlet thinks she's never been more terrified or alive. Chapter 8, Ravina. They get to the courtyard and Commander Lysander welcomes them both. Scarlet says this. Scarlet inclined her head regally, every inch the monarch, despite the intimacy we've just shared. Commander, your reputation precedes you. Remember when I said that the commander was at their meeting in Wonderland? She's already met him. Why did no one catch this? This would have been fine if it was a commentary on the queen not remembering the lowly peons that like don't matter to her. But it's not. It's just an editing error. Just a continuity error. He says that the West Wing is prepared for her stay. Ravina says, nah. Put her in the Eastern Tower, adjacent from my chambers. No one says anything about this, even though the Eastern Tower is really reserved for the royal family and like really important people, but she's obviously making a statement with this. He looks slightly surprised, but he's like, as you wish, and we'll have her things moved immediately. Ravina leads Scarlet into the castle. Scarlet notices that the court is sparse. Ravina says they value quality over quantity, which feels like a drive-by on Scarlet's very hectic court. Scarlet says, how very practical. Where are your magical creatures? I don't see that many. Ravina says they tend to dwell in the forest surrounding the castle, and the ones that live inside have magical functions in the castle. She guides her up a spiral staircase, which is physically hurting her. Scarlet's like, you should rest. Ravina says time is a luxury we can ill afford. Scarlet reminds her that Mara will not be defeated by two queens who are so exhausted they can't do anything. She says that they should rest for a few hours and Ravina relents, but first she wants to show her something. She shows her to a greenhouse that is in the castle. At the center is a tree called the Blood of Darkmoor. It is the source of the most powerful blood magic in the kingdom. She explains to her what it does, and the fact that she does this is insane. You don't know her. You just gave her one of your most important state secrets to a total stranger and the leader of another kingdom. Are you stupid?
Hey pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town?
Scarlet asks if she can touch it, and Ravina says carefully. Scarlet touches it and magic surges through the greenhouse. The roses turn slightly toward her. Scarlet's skin takes on a faint luminescence, and the blue threads in her green eyes become more pronounced. Ravina says that it recognizes her, and Scarlet's like, what does this mean? Ravina says she doesn't know, but she thinks that it's connected to what happens when they share magic or whatever. Yeah, no shit. Scarlet asks if they could try combining magic and touching the tree. Ravina is worried that it could be dangerous. The tree's magic sustains the kingdom, and she's worried about what might happen if something goes wrong. Scarlet is like, what if something goes right? I kind of love that she's just a contrarian. Ravina says okay, but we proceed with caution and stop at the first sign of danger. Can't believe that's all it took. They count to 3 and then do it. Magic surges through the tree. The roses start getting a reddish tinge. Through the tree, I feel Scarlet's magic more clearly than before. Not just the wild chaos of Wonderland one's power, but the discipline beneath it, the order she imposes through fear and control. I sense her strength, her determination, the fierce protectiveness she feels toward her kingdom despite ruling through terror, and beneath it all, a loneliness that mirrors my own, a yearning for connection hidden beneath layers of calculated distance. Her eyes meet mine across the tree, and I know she's experiencing something similar, an unfiltered awareness of my essence, my magic laid bare before her. It should feel intrusive, this level of intimate knowledge. Instead, it feels good. Magic builds, flowing through the tree in increasing waves. The ground beneath us trembles. The glass walls of the greenhouse vibrate with barely contained power. It's becoming too much, too fast, too soon. Yay, more descriptions about how the magic feels. I still don't understand how the magic works, but who needs world building when you can have insta-love? Scarlet says that they need to stop because it's too strong, but Ravina can't pull away. The magic has created a feedback loop. Scarlet pushes against the tree and sends a surge of pure heart magic toward her, and it breaks the loop. They stagger back and the tree continues to pulse with magic, but it's stabilizing. Scarlet asks if she's alright, and Ravina nods that she is, even though the experience was overwhelming. Scarlet says, look at your wound, it's much better. Their united magic is fighting the effects of the crystal. Yay! They talk about how they might be able to mess with Mara's crystals at a larger scale if they can channel and control it properly. They say this is what the Cheshire Cat meant, isn't it?
Yeah, no shit, honey!
Ravina says they need to understand more of what's happening between their magics. Scarlet says the mirror might be able to show them more. Ravina is reluctant to leave the greenhouse. I don't know what we're becoming, Ravina, she admits. I don't know where this leads or what it means for our kingdoms, our magics, ourselves, but I know this. Her hand slides around the back of my neck, drawing me closer. I'm not afraid of change anymore, not if it means I'm with you. Why are we doing this? This means nothing to me because we don't know anything about these characters. We don't have any reason to root for them. And it doesn't even lean on our knowledge of the characters that they are supposed to represent from their original works. What are we even doing? They kiss, magic swirls around them, huzzah. Chapter 9, Scarlet. They lie next to each other, so Ravina's servants bringing Scarlet's belongings to the other room was pointless. Scarlet watches Ravina sleep, which is not creepy at all. Scarlet didn't plan on being in the same bed as her. She planned to check in like all through the night because of the wound. Right, because of the wound. But instead she found Ravina collapsed on her bed, like fully dressed. She moved Ravina into a more comfortable position and then took off her shoes and she loosened her dress. That feels weird to me, but also sweet. If it was written better and in a better book, I could have liked it. Now she's just watching Ravina sleep. How quickly everything has changed. A week ago, we were strangers, rival queens maintaining an uneasy peace. Now we're allies, certainly, but more than that. It is crazy how quickly this happened, except it hasn't been like a week. It's been 2 to 3 days max. Don't lie to us. Scarlet thinks to herself that she's changed in ways she could have never anticipated. It's crazy that we're just supposed to accept this, that she could just change so easily. And it was just because of the hot queen she met once and started working with. Because of world-threatening events. I hate it here. Scarlet thinks she likes who she is with Ravina and feels more authentic. I will say that it is crazy that it took someone of the same social and political power as you for you to feel empathy. Ravina asks how long she's been out, and Scarlet says a few hours, but the sun hasn't moved. Ravina says that the sun never moves in Darkmoor. Edgy. She says the world shifts around it. How does that work? Why does it do that? How does it affect the times of day for the other kingdoms? Who knows? Scarlet says it's a fitting metaphor for Darkmoor's queen. Constant, unchanging, and others orbit your gravity.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Ravina says until now, until you, and grabs her hand. No thanks, this is so predictable and boring. Perhaps because naming it would make it real. The admission hangs between us, weighted with significance. Neither of us has been particularly forthcoming about what's developing between us. We've acknowledged the physical attraction, certainly. The short kisses we've shared have left little doubt about our mutual desire. But it's so much deeper than that. We just haven't said it aloud. Perhaps because naming it would make it real in ways we are not yet prepared to face. Perhaps because queens like us aren't supposed to feel such things. Not for rival monarchs, not for anyone. Vulnerability is a luxury neither of us has permitted ourselves in years. Why? Why can't they have this feeling? They don't have to be rival monarchs. Royalty marry each other all the time. I feel like the reasons they can't be together are contrived, as they often are in these kinds of books, and It's just to try and make it forbidden. Not all romance has to be forbidden. Scarlett asks how her wound is, and Ravina says better, though not completely gone. Scarlett asks to see it, which just feels like she's trying to get her undressed. She sees it, it looks great. Ravina watches Scarlett's hand move across her skin because this was never about the wound. She puts a fresh bandage on it. Scarlett says they should consult the magic mirror, so they go do that. They bleed and say mirror, mirror on the wall. Again, she didn't say it this way in her opening scene, so I don't know why we're doing it now. They see the pool from earlier with 3 women who look related to each other with crowns on their heads. All 3 of the magics are unified. They realize it's the founding queens. Yeah, we were there when the Cheshire Cat said things. They then see the Sundering, which I don't understand why they need to see the events when the Cheshire Cat already said things about it. They see the aftermath with the kingdoms, and now the queens are rivals, but the pool still remains dormant but not destroyed. It's waiting for the day when unity might be restored. They get one more scene change where Mara is corrupted. She's at the pool and the pool is no longer neutral. It's now evil. They realize she's poisoning it, not just using its power. If she succeeds, all the magic will be tainted. The vision shows the consequences. Everything is twisted and dark, edgy, dark. Edgy dark. At the end, Mara is no longer fully human, but a vessel for the corrupted magic. Scarlett wants to know how they can stop this. The mirror changes to show them how, where their combined magic touches the pool. That helps restore the magic to being neutral, but the cost of this is that they will be merged as like a single person and it can't be undone as far as I can tell. Ravina asks if Scarlett understands what the mirror is showing them, and Scarlett says that she does. Scarlett thinks that perhaps this was always meant to happen because the Sundering was a mistake. Ravina says this would change everything, and Scarlett says everything is already changing. The price of transformation isn't just our separate identities. Her eyes hold mine unflinching despite the difficulty of what she's saying. To counter Mara's corruption, to heal the pool, one queen will need to remain, to become the guardian of the unified magic, the anchor that maintains balance. Remain, I found not comprehending. Remain where? Within the pool itself. Her voice is soft but clear. One queen must fall, Scarlett. One of us must become one with the source of magic. One must cease to exist to ensure that corruption never takes hold again. Well, time to pack it up, kids. It's all over. It was nice knowing Scarlett and Ravina, but it's time to let them go. Scarlett asks which one of them falls, and Ravina says the mirror didn't show that part clearly. Scarlett knows she's not telling the whole truth, and she thinks
He's going to sacrifice himself.
She says there has to be an alternative.
No, you can't. There must be another way.
Ravina says that there might not be any, but Scarlett refuses to accept that. She says there's always another way, a different approach. Funny coming from the woman who said fear is the only way to rule, but go off. She asks the mirror to show them again, but show how they beat Mara without losing each other. They see a path where they channel their combined power into the water. The transformation is slower, but there is a cost to this way too. The illness recedes and Mara is defeated, but the taint she introduced lays dormant and it's not destroyed. There will still be a threat for future generations. Ravina points this out and thinks that it's not fair to do just because they don't want to be parted with each other. Ravina also says they don't have to decide at this moment. Scarlett knows that she's talking about which sacrifice they need. She says that they should focus on immediate challenges such as finding the pool, understanding Mara's plans, and preparing for war. I thought you already understood her plans. What are you talking about? Scarlett thinks that she will not lose Ravina and she will find another way no matter the cost. They're about to have a cute moment when one of Ravina's soldiers comes bursting into the room. He tells them that a messenger has arrived from the border. Edmund's forces have broken through their western defenses. They have more of the crystal devices and more creatures that seem wrong. He tells her that there are hundreds and they're moving fast toward the castle. She tells him to alert the army and prepare the blood sigils for defensive configuration. Ravina is using her magic to power up the castle, which is secretly a weapon. Scarlett seems surprised, but I feel like we've already established that she prefers things that are functional rather than just decorative. Commander Lysander enters the throne room, which is serving as the command center. You would think they would pick a room with more comfortable chairs. Why are you adamant about making everyone uncomfortable when you're all about to die? He tells her that the first wave is approaching the outer wall and that there's something wrong. It's as if they are remade from the inside out. Skylar says it's Mara poisoning them.
Yeah, no shit, honey!
How many times do we have to repeat the same thing? It's just wasted words because they think their readers are stupid. He tells them that there are at least 500 people and that they're divided into 3 units. They're circling all of the escape routes. Scarlet asks if the Shadow Warriors can move through darkness itself and appear where the enemy is least expecting it. Lysander waits to make sure that his king is fine with him answering before he says yes, but they can only do it within the borders of Darkmoor where there is sufficient darkness. Scarlet puts her hand on the battle map and the map comes alive. It has a miniature version of Edmund's army moving in real time, which is a super handy trick. Ravina suggests that Mara is controlling them and it's like a web with her at the center. She asks Scarlet if she can see where she is and Scarlet says that she's beyond the range of the map, but the flow leads westward toward Ironwood. She is directing the attack remotely. See, even villains understand the need for remote working conditions. Lysander theorizes that they can disrupt the connections and they might be able to break her control over the soldiers because the crystals are what's controlling them, yada yada, we know. Ravina is worried about interfacing with the illness directly because it could expose them to the influence. She voices this, but Scarlet is like, all magic has risk and waiting for them to come kill us all is stupid. I'm sick of Scarlet having to remind everyone that there are no perfect solutions and there's no answer where you're not putting yourself in some kind of danger. They don't want to destroy the crystal weapons because of the explosions, but to disrupt the connections between the soldiers and the weapons, it's all very boring and overly explained. Ravina says that they should position themselves at the blood tree because the power will amplify their combined magic. Now Scarlet is asking, what if something goes wrong? It's never ending flip-flopping. It's too much communicating and telling and not enough doing and showing. Ravina is like, well then we'll have to do the thing where one of us dies. Scarlet is like, no way, we'll make our own fate. This girl is in denial. They take each other's hands and say, together then. This will be a repeating annoying thing that will just keep being repeated, by the way. Page break. They arrive at the greenhouse and they're going to connect to the tree like they did before, but this time they will deliberately direct the combined power outward. I don't know how they know they can do that because they had such a hard time last time. They do it anyway. They're both disgusted when they feel Mara's blood magic. God forbid a girl try something different. God forbid a villain think outside the box. The crystal network changes tactics while they're like interfacing with it and tries to overwhelm them since it can't corrupt them. Like this does work somewhat because the force drives them to their knees, but don't worry guys, something shifts between them and their magic responds instinctively. Why explain when something like this can just be so easy for them? I hate how nothing is really hard for these characters. The fallout of their decisions never affect them. It affects the people who live in their kingdoms and the soldiers being controlled against their own wills in Ironwood. But it never really affects them because there can't be any stakes for the fucking main characters. It starts and the soldiers start to be less influenced by the crystals, their will returning. They find the origin of the network, which isn't where Mara is, and they introduce choice where there is compulsion. How do they do this? How does the magic work? Oh, but I'm asking about the magic system and I'm not supposed to do that. It works and some of the soldiers flee and others fall to their knees now that they have their like consciousness back. Through this, the Shadow Warriors are still killing those who continue to attack while securing those who surrender. They finally break their connection to the tree and they're exhausted. They can kind of feel each other's thoughts now, but not completely. This sounds like a horror story to me when you barely know each other, but these are two severe U-Haul lesbians, so they don't care. Commander Lysander comes to the greenhouse and he tells them that the enemy forces are in retreat. Those who surrendered are secured and those who could escape did. Ravina asks about casualties and he says it's very minimal on their side. Scarlet, they've changed and that the mages are going to be studying them now. The sad thing is that the soldiers were conscious the entire time, but they were unable to control their own bodies, like when veterinarians used to give dogs acepromazine. Ravina says Mara is beyond saving, and I thought we knew that. I don't think there was ever a time when you planned to save your evil sister who tried to kill you. She She tells the commander to rest and that they did great today. She says they'll discuss their next steps tomorrow. He leaves and Scarlet and Ravina are left alone with the reality of what they're becoming. Chapter 11, Scarlet. We're in the command center, which if you had that, then why wouldn't you go there instead of making the throne room your command center? It doesn't make any sense. If they don't provide a reason, it just drives me crazy. Anyway, they're in the control room and they're with 4 of Mara's prisoner soldiers who look like utter shit. Ravina tells them to rise because they are not their enemies, they are victims. What happened to the queens being evil? What happened to the dark part of this book? I can't find it anywhere. The soldiers stand and they are worried, probably because they're from a kingdom that does not approve of magic use, and they are stuck in front of 2 queens of the magic user lands. Almost like they're on trial. But that nuance doesn't matter here. Ravina says they are united against the corruption that enslaved them. One of the older ones tells them that they can remember everything, but that they couldn't control themselves and their bodies during the enslavement. My question is, how do the queens know that they're telling the truth? You're just gonna take their word for it from a kingdom that doesn't like magic? Hello? The queens ask them when it began, and they say that it began when Mara came to Ironwood and gave them the crystals as gifts. She said that the crystals would protect them from magic, but instead they just let her into their bodies. Ravina asked them to describe the process, but again, I do not understand why we're taking what they're telling you at face value. It starts with dreams and then there are whispers that they can disobey, but it goes until they can't disobey them anymore. The crystals grow like warm when Mara talks to them, and they can't distinguish between their thoughts and Mara's commands after a while. Ravina asks what Edmund's role in all of this is, which is a great question, except we didn't ask this until 51% through the book. They say that he's not himself and that he was the first one to be given a crystal. Now he's just the puppet king. And again, I have questions. If their kingdom doesn't like magic users, why did he marry Mara at all? Why would he do that when she can't go home? She burned all of those bridges and she has no resources from the prior kingdom that she was princess of. Why would he marry her in the first place? It doesn't make any sense. The queens ask if they physically saw the pool or just dreamed of it, and they all say both. After a time, Mara starts taking them to the caverns and has them drink out of the pool themselves, and whoever drank from the pool becomes more receptive to the crystals afterward. They tell them that she decided to start speaking her plans freely once they were fully under her control, and they confirm that she plans to take the source of magic in order to remake the world in her image. I don't know why we're repeating things over and over and over. I started to zone out at this point of the book because of how sheerly boring it is, because we keep repeating things. They tell them that Mara's next move will be in Wonderland. They say that the attack was a test and that Mara is very pleased that the corruption affected them during the battle. This is all stuff we know. They're both confused because they're like, we thought Ravina's wound was healed, but the question is, did we heal it? These prisoners tell them that Mara has felt that this battle was like a success. Ravina tells them that they're free to stay in Darkmoor, and if they return to Ironwood, no one is going to protect them, and both queens will just assume that they have chosen a side on the war. Love the subtle threat. After the soldiers leave, they decide that they need to examine their magic more carefully, because them trying to unite magic might be playing right into her hands. And yeah, you're missing the third kingdom. Remember, it was 3 sisters who ruled? You don't have the king of Ironwood, you dumbasses. Scarlet does not agree and says that whatever is happening between them is real and she feels it. It's not corruption, it's fate. Have you ever wanted the villain in a book to win because you can't stand the main characters that much? That's me with this book, Team Mara. Ravina's like, how can you be so sure? Scarlet takes her hands and she just says, I know, as the magic is like pulsing between them or whatever. Okay, whatever you say. They need to return to Wonderland, so they're gonna get in the carriage and get going. The amount of traveling in this book, a little bit crazy. Chapter 12, Ravina. They're in the carriage and Scarlet is like, you're questioning everything. And I hope she is, because this whole thing is a giant shit show. Ravina's like, are you not, after everything that we've said? And Scarlet says, of course, but I believe what I said before. What flows between us doesn't feel like corruption, yada yada yada. I fear that this book has so much communicating that it makes me miss the miscommunication trope, which I despise, by the way. They both agree that it feels like balance and point out all of the things that have changed, like correlation equals causation. Ravina thinks to herself that Mara is right and that they do need unification. She's just choosing the wrong method. I am once again asking though, are we ever going to think about the King of Ironwood when we're talking about unifying the place? No. They argue again about finding another way and one of them not being trapped in the pool. It's boring. It's overdone. I'm sick of it. They get to Wonderland and they see that the Castle of Cards isn't completely red anymore. Again, there's a lot of annoying reiteration that because they're together, everything is supposed to be changing. The Roses are also allegedly making some kind of network between their kingdoms. Again, we never see the Roses actually talk, so like, are they capable of thought? We don't know. They get to the castle, the card soldiers are there to see them. When they get inside, there's the match hair, and he's just there to reiterate that weird things are happening around the kingdom. I'm not gonna bore you with the same thing over and over. Kingdoms intertwined, magic intertwined, yay, we get it. He says that everyone is responding particularly well to the changes and that nobody is really bothered. Well, good. Nothing in this kingdom is up to them anyway, as we've seen since the beginning of this book. Scarlet tells him to assemble her advisors, but decides they need to freshen up first in her chambers, so they go. When they are going there, they marvel again about how everyone's reactions means that the unification thing is a great thing, and it's what's best for everybody.
Sure, Jan.
Then they go over again how they don't want to sacrifice each other, how Scarlet is right, yada 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 yada. Stop having the same conversations. They kiss again and Scarlet is like, stay with me for a little bit until they call us away again, and they start kissing passionately. They have sex. It's the best sex to ever sex. It was really boring for me, even with all the magic mingling stuff. There's a lot of euphemisms. It's overall quite boring. If you want to read it, be my guest, but this is just not for me. Not gonna go over the play-by-play. Everyone gets off. It's a great time had by all. After they have the worst pillow talk imaginable because they talk about sacrificing each other again. The air is thick with the scent of them, spicy and sweet like blood and honey mingled. Do you still think sacrifice is inevitable? Scarlet asks quietly, her fingers laced with mine. I consider the question seriously, weighing the evidence of our unified magic against the mirror's prophecy. I don't know, I admit finally, but I'm beginning to believe there might be another interpretation of falling. Perhaps it doesn't mean death or loss, but I gesture to our still glowing skin, the visible manifestation of our powers. Surrender, becoming something new together. She smiles against my shoulder, her breath warm against my skin. That's a sacrifice I could make willingly. As could I whisper, pressing a kiss to her temple. Oh my god, how many times are we gonna do this? Why won't anyone end my suffering? Isn't being sick still enough of a punishment? Someone knocks at the door and they say that they'll be there shortly. After they get dressed, they hold hands and they say, together. Ravina ends the chapter thinking she believes in them. Can we talk about how all of the advisors are going to smell that you guys had sex with each other because you didn't bathe? I guess they have to suffer. What else is new for the citizens of Wonderland? Chapter 13, Scarlet. They go over how the throne room has changed. I don't care. I sincerely don't. We learn that Scarlet's advisors don't care either, and I have never felt more solidarity with anyone ever. They get to it. The Griffin reports that there are soldiers by the eastern border of Wonderland and that they're mostly creatures this time. There are possibly 1,000 at most. They can now feel what the other is planning through the bond. Great! Maybe we can cut out some of this over communicating now. The card soldiers are sharper and more durable now. Yay! The magical creatures have decided to stand with their queen. My question is, why? Until this week, she was executing people left and right. Why would you go to war for her? Where are the rebels? This is so stupid to me. They've reconfigured the roads and there are prepared ambush points. Good, I love some guerrilla warfare. I'm dead serious. There are also secret passages that only Scarlet and Ravina can get through. She tells the advisors to go back to their posts and strengthen the defenses. The queens will join them to make final preparations. Oh joy. They think the same because those advisors cannot wait to get out of here and away from the sex smell. Ravina comments that Scarlet's people accepted her relatively well. Yeah, if she marries you, she might just stop all the executions. They are hoping to have one queen with sense and reason. Ravina also comments that Scarlet is being less theatrical and she's not really ruling through fear anymore. Scarlet had noticed, which is insane. Perhaps I no longer need fear as a tool, I muse, watching a flamingo fly by. It's crystalline feathers, now veined with dark red that matches the roses. Not when authority flows naturally with you at my side. See, I'm telling you that the people realized the only way to get a good ruler was to get Ravina to be their queen. They gave Scarlet a love potion or something, and that's why she's so into her. This is my new theory. Those poor Underlanders were desperate because the rebels just effed right off. They go over their next moves because Mara hasn't attacked yet. Ravina says they're testing the new changes. She's gauging the changes. Ravina suggests her strategic mind working alongside mine, testing how our unified magic responds, how it affects our kingdoms, perhaps even hoping to determine which of us is the dominant force. As if either of us could dominate the other, I reply with a small smile, the words carrying more meaning than I initially intended. Oh my god, stop this. I hate this. I hate it here. Ugh. The Cheshire Cat comes to taunt them. Thank God, the most interesting character is back. He's back to remind them about the history of the founding queens. They were triplets. Oh, this is the newest info. Who cares? They're surprised by this. He says that history is written by those who wish to forget as much as by those who wish to remember. That was kind of a banger, I'm not gonna lie. They ask why those three sisters got into their big fight, and he's like, betrayal. Alara started drinking from the pool in secret because she wanted to control all of magic. Yay! I wish we learned about this in a more interesting way. But the pool was never made for individual power, and the other two had to sever the connection between themselves and the pool to prevent the corruption of all magic. We learn that iron doesn't suppress magic, it contains it. It's turned inwards to stop the corruption from spreading. Hooray, history repeats in cycles, blah, blah, blah. He says that 3 is important, and yeah, I said that they need Edmund, but no one thinks about it. But no, because Mara broke the balance, she's the one who must fall. I think it would have been way more interesting if they needed to rescue Edmund to make this work. They ask how they could defeat her, and he tells them the blood tree and her new sapling before dipping out. I wish I could dip out, but I read this book, and so I have to share the suffering. They now know they need to find the sapling, even though the blood tree has never reproduced before, but it must be in Underland. Why? You know what? Who cares? A card soldier bursts in and says that Mara's forces are advancing, closing in. Ravina says they'll find the sapling when they have time. Scarlet ends the chapter thinking the queen who falls won't be either of them. Well, wouldn't that just be so lucky? Chapter 14, Ravina. The eastern border is now a battleground. Many of Scarlet's soldiers bear wounds that have that new crystal sickness, and it's spreading from even minor injuries. The CAD soldiers are holding the defensive line. Ravina remarks that the castle is so disciplined, and Scarlet says, terror is an effective teacher. Is it? Because they were messing up left and right before you got nicer and you were blasting them out of existence before. They look at the creatures attacking them, and Mara isn't controlling them anymore. The infection disease thing is autonomous now. It's an autonomous infection is how it's described. And you can't say that Mara isn't creative. At least she's trying to keep this interesting for me. They need to join the battle, so they have people bring them their mounts. Scarlet has a massive chess piece knight that moves in L shapes. Are you shitting me right now? How is this helpful? And Ravina gets one of Underland's Black Panthers. I think that might be a bit more helpful than that fucking chess piece. They both start using their magic against the enemies. It's working, yay! Until we learn that Mara's forces are adapting and learning from each confrontation. See, I do think I like Mara. She is smart, gotta give it to her. Scarlet is trying to keep her subjects from dying on the battlefield, but again, I'm asking why, because she's been executing them left and right, like, forever. They can feel Mara coming, and the void expands for Mara to step through. Mara has transformed almost beyond recognition. Her body is partially crystallized, black veins visible beneath translucent skin that reflects light in unnatural ways. Her hair, once black like mine, now bears a prominent streak of white. Her eyes are the most horrifying change, no longer blue like mine, but black pools emptied of life. She wears armor fashioned from the same crystals her soldiers carried, but it appears fused to her flesh rather than merely worn. In her hand, she carries a staff topped with a pulsate crystal larger than any we've yet encountered, a concentration of power that makes my skin crawl even at this distance. Behind her, a second figure emerges from the void, King Edmund of Ironwood, or what remains of him. Where Mara has embraced corruption, Edmund has been consumed by it. His human form is barely discernible within a clear shell that seems to be using him as a vessel. His movements are jerky, puppet-like, his face frozen in an expression of agony, visible through the crystal encasing him. You know what? I think I like her. She's a vibe. I wish she had killed them both though and ended my suffering. Now that would have been a dark book. She shows up and she's like, thank you for saving me the trouble of having to find you both. Mara says that she has evolved beyond the limitations of flesh and blood. She calls their bond primitive. They start arguing about whose approach is better. It doesn't matter. Mara gives them the option of either it's going to be painless or it's going to be painful. Ravina doesn't feel any grief over her sister, and I would hope not. She already tried to kill you. They decide to retreat for now, which is a decision I almost never see in books, so I actually do gotta respect it. Mara taunts them, and then she tries to separate Scarlet and Ravina's magic from one another. It's incredibly painful. Of course, our bad bitch Mara would figure something out. Scarlet says, together no matter what. Aren't you tired of this yet?
But imagine how tired we are. Imagine how tired we are of it.
Mara is very sure she's gonna win. She's a bad bitch, so I get it. They say if they're divided, we'll find each other. It's so boring. Scarlet tells her soldiers to get back in the castle and protect Wonderland. They make a gap for her soldiers to fit through so they don't get murdered by Mara's soldiers. Mara snaps the connection between them. It's incredibly painful and they black out from this. Page break. Ravina comes to consciousness eventually and Scarlet is nowhere to be seen. She calls out for Scarlet and it attracts a wounded flamingo who is now sick. Ravina is having a hard time reaching for her magic because the flamingo is now a threat, but a playing card comes to save her. He tells her that Scarlet has been taken by Mara and Edmund. Their orders are to get Ravina into the safety of the Castle of Cards. From there, they will plan a rescue. Ravina decides to go because she can't plan anything if she's captured or dead. She can feel a faint whisper of something and their bond isn't completely severed. She knows Scarlet is alive. Yay! Hopefully not for long. We're on Team Mara in this house. Chapter 15, Scarlet. Scarlet is now in her own dungeon and Mara is so iconic for that. Scarlet thinks about the irony because she's imprisoned people here. Why? You just killed people. If there are people who are imprisoned, where are they? Because we don't see anyone in this entire... Girl, she's tied up with some enchanted chains. She's missing the bond. We know. Mara comes to taunt her. Scarlet asks how Edmund's doing, like Mara gives a singular shit about him. He's always clearly been a pawn. Mara tells her to shut up because she's only here to complete the triad. Mara can see the lesbian writing on the wall and knows that Ravina will come to save Scarlet. She's planning on absorbing them both. Scarlet says they won't willingly do it, and Mara says, LOL, that doesn't matter to me. We can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. Scarlet argues with her some more, and Mara's like, it's just a matter of perspective. She then leaves because she's the baddest. Scarlet decides to try and use some blood magic, so she rubs her wrists around the magical handcuffs until there is blood. At least she's trying to think of something and is not just waiting there. It works and she's able to get a very small crack in the manacles, but she realizes there is some of Mara's magic in the chains, so she has to switch tactics to cleanse them so that she can get out. After a very long time this works, even though they have a more limited connection now. She can sense something in the rose garden, and again, how does any of this magic work? She tries to reach Ravina through the roses. She then has to work on the cell door, which she is able to turn to ash somehow after a bit. There are guards patrolling nearby. She gets to some of the hidden roots so that she can get the hell out of here. She emerges in an unused pantry near the kitchens, but then she keeps going through the passages until she gets to where her loyal subjects are hiding. The castle has been mostly taken over at this point. She tells the White Rabbit that she needs to get to the garden so she can contact Ravina. She asks him to create a distraction, and he says that he will for Wonderland. Notice how he didn't say he'd do it for her. She wants the Duchess to prepare her forces for her signal, which is the roses will bloom as they've never bloomed before. Yay. He runs out and starts yelling that the queen has escaped and lures them off in the other direction. She gets to the garden and talks to the roses. They can't get direct communication, but she knows she lives. She tries to send a message about finding the sapling, but she doesn't know if Ravina will get the message. The White Rabbit is back and she tells him that she needs everyone that they can trust, which for you should be no one because no one in this kingdom likes you. Chapter 16, Ravina. Ravina is upset because her sister has her Scarlet, but she knows she's alive. Yeah, we got it. Commander Lysander says that the disease is spreading faster than anticipated. She gets hung up because he calls Mara her sister and she's like, that's not my sister. He says, great, then we can kill her. Around them, Wonderland's resistance has gathered around. The Cheshire Cat is among them and he delivers the message from the roses. Ravina asks him if he can take her to Scarlet and he says, not directly. Ravina tries to communicate through the roses, even though this is starting to feel like a game of complicated telephone. She now knows she's in the central garden. She learns from the cat that the sapling is near the heart of the wood, where Wonderland Wonderland's magic runs deepest. Okay, super helpful. Couldn't have given more, I don't know, important landmarks. Ravina is going to find the sapling and the Cheshire Cat is going to lead her. It goes really fast and then the sapling is itty bitty when they get there and it's a hybrid tree. Do you guys think their magic intertwines? I just can't tell. She touches the tree and she can talk to Scarlet. They go over their plan. It's very boring. They think that the sapling can help them, but the cat tells them that it cannot leave the clearing because it's too young. Fragile. Scarlet is like, that's fine, I'll just lure her there. Scarlet communicates that Mara knows that she's escaped and then the connection goes dead. The cat is going to alert Lysander and then vanishes. Lysander shows up to talk about the timeline and he tells her that King Edmund is leading the outer defenses. She needs him to handle Edmund while creating a sufficient enough distraction. He thinks he can pull it off, but it will be difficult. Ravina is alone again and she's thinking, wait for me, Scarlet, I'm coming. She's apparently going to get her, which was not conveyed super clearly. I will be honest with you. A lot of this book is confusing. The chess pieces are fighting against Edmund. It is all rather boring. They start communicating through the roses and communicate about where each of them are. Ravina finally gets there. Scarlet stands among a group of loyal subjects. The Duchess with her scowl, the White Rabbit clutching his pocket watch, and several card soldiers bearing the marks of battle. But I have eyes only for her. She appears unharmed other than a few scratches. For a moment, we simply stare, drinking in the details of one another. Then we simultaneously break into a sprint, running toward each other with unmasked desperation. The moment our bodies connect, our bond surges back to full strength. Thoughts, emotions, and magical awareness flow between us as they did before. When this is over, I'm going to show you just how much I appreciate you returning for me. She whispers against my hair, her arms tightening around me. I promised, didn't I? I reply, allowing myself this moment of vulnerability before we face what comes next. Aw, how sweet. If only someone would break this little party up, because I cannot stand this story, nor these characters. Mara is coming and they talk about the plan being the same. I don't know why we have to repeat it every 5 seconds. Mara shows up again and again thanks them for saving her some time. Can we have nothing original? They start retreating again and Mara mocks them. It's boring. They go through the castle grounds with Mara pursuing them. She starts to get nervous because things are different. Mara asks what they did to her kingdom and they say it's ours, which makes Mara big mad. They talk again about her corrupting what needs to be balanced. It's really repetitive and annoying as hell. Like, if you're going to write a bad book, can't you just make it as crazy as all get out so I can be entertained at least? They get to the sapling and they create a triangle when Mara walks into one of the spots. Mara is super confused by this when she gets there, probably because their plan is confusing to everyone, including her. The sapling starts to absorb Mara and she starts begging. They say that they don't agree with her methods and that one queen must fall and they've decided it's gonna be her. They realize while she's dying that the pool is the final piece. Yeah, I don't know why you forgot that existed. There was a third sapling there. They continue to lord over Mara how much more moral and righteous they are, when one of them was beheading people all over the place. Mara dies. Goodbye, bad bitch. We miss you. They say it's not over and they are going together. We know. Chapter 17, Scarlet. They go back to the Castle of Cards. Ravina looks like shit because her sister is dead, but she says that she'll be fine because her sister was dead long before today. Scarlet gives her some empathy anyway because Ravina is in her tax bracket. Lysander comes to them and tells them that their battle is coming to an end. They have Edmund. He's alive but gravely weakened. They know that he was her pawn but also her victim. His survival will offer hope to others. We go over how more stuff has been transformed by the power of gay love. I really don't care about it. I truly don't. Things are more of a mix of black and red. What? How much more descriptive do you need to be? They have to address the Ironwood problem and Edmund. The advisors are worried because of Ironwood's anti-magic stance, even with them saving their king. They're going to try this diplomatically by using Edmund, but everyone is worried it will fail. Ravina says they'll just do it anyway because this threatens all 3 kingdoms. They're going to go in a couple days because they need rest and so does Edmund. Everyone else leaves the room. They are both exhausted. You're exhausted, she says simply, reaching to brush a strand of hair from my face. I briefly close my eyes as the warmth of her hand grazes my skin. As are you, I counter, leaning slightly into her touch. We both pushed our limits today. It was worth it. She replies, a small smile softening her typically hard expression. Though I wasn't certain until the final moment that our plan would succeed. Doubting our combined brilliance, I tease, moving closer until barely an inch separates us. How very unlike the Queen of Darkmoor. Perhaps the Queen of Hearts' wild influence has made me less certain of predetermined outcomes. She responds, her voice dropping so suddenly it sends pleasant shivers down my spine. Though I find I don't mind the uncertainty nearly as much as expected. I close the remaining distance between us, my hand finding her waist as hers comes to rest around my neck. Well, I, for one, had absolute faith in our strategy, I murmur, though we both know through our connection that I harbored my own doubts. After all, we make quite the formidable pair. Indeed we do. She agrees, one hand rubbing the sore muscles in my lower neck in more ways than originally anticipated. Their banter makes me want to be flayed alive and wrapped in salt. I deserve more than this. I just read Hungerstone, it was so good. And I read The Starving Saints. Like, how do you go from really good books to this? They kiss, they're super into it. They pull apart and Ravina is like, I never would have expected this when we were just supposed to do diplomacy. Yeah, because it's stupid as hell. They talk about finding their other halves. And I never imagined the Witch Queen of Darkmoor would steal my heart, I reply, only half joking. I built walls of fear and cruelty specifically to prevent such vulnerabilities, as did I. She acknowledges, understanding what I'm feeling. We both ruled through isolation. We are alone no more. Your chambers are mine, I ask, suddenly feeling the need to take her to bed. Yours, she laughs, a mischievous twinkle lighting her eyes. Taking her hand, I lead her through the halls until we reach my chambers. Our chambers now. All love. They go to bed and they start getting freaky. I would hope you'd get some sleep, but nope. Ravina admits she used to spy on Scarlet through the mirror, but they both love this. They both get off. It was magical, literally. They're determined to do things together, and this is merely the beginning. They kiss again, yay. Chapter 18, Ravina. They go to Ironwood. It looks like shit, because the source of the corruption is still active. Edmund is with them but in a carriage. He is still recovering. They're meeting up with an Ironwood patrol. Edmund addresses them and tells them that the queens are allies now. They hesitate because they haven't heard anything from Queen Mara. He says that she no longer speaks for Ironwood nor its king. They aren't thrilled with this. He reminds them that he is their king, and they say, Mara warned us about your deteriorating mental state. She's such a bad bitch for that. They say they can't because they haven't gotten orders from her and they don't want to die. He tells them that she's dead and they're like, well, we haven't heard of that, so that must be a lie. Edmund decides he's going to make a distraction instead. He doesn't want to fail his kingdom again, which good, I guess. Still not sure why you failed them in the first place, because you married someone who is completely the opposite of your magical stance. But whatever. They're able to sneak in. They head toward the pool. Just Scarlet and Ravina. Edmund is creating the distraction, just so we're clear. When they get closer, the Council of Ironwood appears. They're annoyed because Edmund isn't transformed anymore. So clearly they're Team Mara. She must have gotten them with the really good healthcare. The council doesn't see them though. They get to the pool and they're going to plant the seed for the tree where there's like a natural weak point in the pool's pattern. They say together for the billionth time. It's actually only said 51 times, and I feel like that's still too many for one book. They plant the seed. The sapling emerges and the pool tries to fight it. Jesus. Good thing they have Scarlet and Ravina, who are great at everything. They see some corrupted versions of themselves taunting them in the pool. They learn from the taunting versions of themselves that cleansing the pool just addresses the symptoms but not the cause. It doesn't matter because there's symbiosis in the end and the duplicates collapse. The tree reached maturity and they did it. Edmund appears in the passageway and greets them. He's happy they succeeded, and the girls hold hands. Scarlet's hand finds mine, squeezing reassuringly as we exchanged glances. Her red hair shines against the crystal clear pool. I can't stop myself from reaching out to run it between my fingers. Our eyes meet and I slide my hand to the back of her neck, drawing her into a kiss so needed I feel like I might die without it. Her mouth finds mine and her body relaxes against my hold. And now there will be time for us, I whisper against her lips as I pull back, smiling down at her. Endless time to learn and explore each other and our kingdoms. I'd love nothing more. Scarlet beams back, biting her bottom lip between her teeth. But first, a bath. I laugh, kissing her forehead before letting her go. I can't argue with that. I'm glad that they admit that they smell. No, I just know that the smell was fucking awful after not bathing and going through all those battles and like sweaty armor and having sex. Chapter 19, Scarlet. We jump 3 weeks into the future. Everything has changed. We get it. How much more can you tell me that? Dana LeeAnn. Ravina comes to the balcony with Scarlet and asks if she's admiring her handiwork. Scarlet corrects her and says it's our work. They both look at how beautiful it is. They hold each other and all is well because Ravina is at her side. Epilogue, Scarlet. We jump to 2 years later. What was the point of the final chapter then? They clearly lived together, but I thought they U-hauled immediately anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. They comment on the mock turtle crying, but he's crying because of beautiful things now. The Cheshire Cat visits them. We have all the main cast back except for Mara. Rip, bad bitch. He tells tells them that the tree in Ironwood has started making seeds. He's very excited about how the magic is flowing before he disappears. We also learn that King Edmund's kingdom is doing better. Yay! They go on a walk together, Scarlet and Ravina. Ravina asks Scarlet if she ever misses being feared, and Scarlet says no. It was a poor substitute for this. Again, I don't know how no one wants her dead. They banter some more. It doesn't matter. They're so happy. They have to get back to the castle because they have jobs. They stand underneath the blood tree and hold each other before saying forever to one another. And thanks, I hate it. Conclusion, and we did it, yay! I think one of the main problems with this book is that it's not dark enough. It just doesn't commit. It's also advertised completely wrong because it's advertised as enemies to lovers, and it is completely not. It was insta-love hell. I feel like it just didn't really have the things that dark romance should have, or that we associate with dark romance, and the sex scenes were mid at best. The magic system also didn't make any sense, and we spent way too long explaining things that we shouldn't, like how things looked and how things were changing. I gave this book 2.25 out of 5 stars on Storygraph. It was overall just a giant waste of my time, and it felt absolutely ridiculous to get through. If you made it this far, put a flamingo emoji in the comments. Tell me what you thought of this book if you've read it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're slowly pushing towards 100. It really helps the channel. We're creeping up on 100, and you guys have just been all so great, so thank you. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.